Hello again, welcome back to Some Climbing News. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today, so let's start the show. And starting us off today, huge news out of Colorado. Galla has managed to get a send of Megatron 9A V17 for that boulder's third repeat ever. And first of all, holy shit, Galla is on another freaking level. And I want to know what the hell he's been eating so I can get rid of this bastard of a beer belly, get climbing as hard as he is, or at least a couple levels below that. That'd be totally fine. Like, dude, what a monster year he's been having. And second of all, lots to unpack here. First, while Zach's not really said anything about how long it actually took him to put this thing together, he did mention a few things in his Instagram post. They're actually pretty interesting. The first is the difference in how he managed to send this thing. Basically saying that every other hard boulder that he's done, it's been a question of getting the individual moves to work. And once they did, the send go itself was actually basically almost effortless. With Megatron, though, it's seemingly the opposite happened, where the individual moves came together pretty quickly, but what was actually tough was putting everything together for a send. To me, that kind of seems like the exact dichotomy that exists between bouldering and sport climbing. Where in sport climbing, because we're talking about long climbs, the individual moves are easier to do, but harder to put together, as opposed to bouldering, where, yeah, you get the picture. I'm just repeating myself at this point. And honestly, that kind of tracks, right? Like, Megatron, as it stands, is a pretty freaking long-ass boulder. We're not talking about Burden of Dreams and it's like 5 little moves here. It's at least, as far as I counted for Sean Rabatu's send, 24 hand moves and a shit ton of feet movement. Whereas the other 2 9As that Zach's done, Return of the Sleepwalker, is, as per Adam Shahar's send, about 12 hand moves, in Shaolin, as per Noah Wheeler's send, actually 11 up to the mantle, more or less. So given that, you know, boulderer tries sport climbing for the first time, finds out what being pumped means, I guess that's kind of what happened here. Though to be fair to Zach, he has climbed Grand Illusion 8C+, which is basically a route, and makes me wonder if he feels as though his experience on that particular boulder was at all similar. Also makes me wonder if he enjoyed that process, and if that makes him actually want to try hard sport climbing, probably for the first time in his life, which, as a fellow boulderer, no. For real, there's another thing we got to talk about here, because I actually talked very, very briefly with Zach about his send, and in that brief conversation, that wasn't really a conversation, it was more like a couple DMs, he mentioned that he thinks that this is the hardest boulder that he's ever done. And that's important, because lately, I've been seeing some people kind of disparage Megatron, people calling it, you know, along with No One Mourns the Wicked, soft, which I think there's a certain invisible man whispering in the ears of armchair graders and common here and getting under their skin with his otherworldliness. If you don't know what I mean, this fucking guy, Hamish MacArthur, who sent No One Mourns in 45 minutes and Megatron in 5 sessions. Look, I get it. Someone sent something that's supposed to be hard ridiculously quickly. The reaction a lot of people seem to want to have is to just assume that that means that the boulder in question must be soft. What Galla is saying here, though, is basically, no, it's hard. Harder than Return of the Sleepwalker, harder than Shaolin, harder than any other boulder he's done, which, by the way, includes shit like The Process, Devolution, or Devolution, however the hell you're supposed to pronounce that name, and Hypnotized Minds. Megatron is hard, and Hamish is a freak of nature, or one with the universe, or both. Interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure that what Zach was alluding to have tapped into an almost flow state situation when he actually sent, where he just, you know, focused on doing one move after another and suddenly found himself at the top, is probably also the same thing that Hamish attributes a whole lot of spirituality to. So yeah, different perspectives to a potentially similar experience on the same boulder. You could make a religion out of this. How's that for a deep cut internet reference, you bastards? You're welcome. Anyways, as I said, huge congratulations to Zach, who's now one of only 6 people in the entire world, in the entire history of the universe, and of time, or whatever, to have ever sent 3 or more 9A boulders. Massive congratulations, dude. He's on a freaking roll. I can't wait to see what else he gets on, man, because I think he's out of boulders in the U.S. At least 9As in the U.S., I think. No, he's still got No One Mourns the Wicked, and he sent Defying Gravity literally last week. So, who knows, man? We might just get another 9A repeat from him pretty freaking quick. We'll see. Next, we got Seb Bouin, who's back from his China trip. Dude got real close on what he's calling his China project. Very much nearly was able to send, but, well, as you can probably gather from this picture and this picture, and, well, especially this picture, my dude wasn't able to put it all together and kept falling on the final jug. I suppose that really explains the pain in those eyes. God damn. Though, honestly, pretty short-lived pain, because the China project is supposed to be around 9B plus 515C, but Seb did just get a little bit of a consolation prize, because the dude just made pretty quick work of a new route that he's called Les Champs des Muses, somewhere in France. Now, Seb's gone on record to say he's not entirely sure just how hard this is. Probably lies somewhere between the hard 9A plus 515A to easy-ish 9B 515B. Apparently, he's kind of leaning towards the B as opposed to the A, because apparently this route is super duper very much Seb's style, which means this thing is probably 9C. No, I'm kidding. If I was a betting man, and for the moment I'm not, but if I was, I'd wager this thing's going to stay at around 515B. Also, Seb was falling off the last move on this thing until the wind changed, and yeah, wind brings with it new conditions. Always nice for that to happen. Anyways, congrats to Seb Bouin. Feels like this dude sent 9B way too fast, right? It's like insane. It's wild. Also wild the fact that we should all not be at all surprised that he's able to send 9B as quickly as he just did. Anyways, next we got Charles Albert just absolutely riding the wave of form from his send of Charlatan, which is probably 9A V17, by the way. Dude said he was getting close on a bunch of his projects, and lo and behold, I'm talking about him, which means he's sent something else. Duh. In this case, a sit start variation to a 7C plus V10 boulder problem called Le Salate Wall, which kind of gives me Royale with cheese vibes, like Salate Wall is a Salate Wall, but in font it's small and called Le Salate Wall. Yeah, you get the picture. Anyways, this thing's apparently anywhere around 8C to 8C plus, which those who call Le Salate Wall, just the Salate Wall, is V15 16. Dude did not seem to want to make up his goddamn mind about the grade, but it is what it is. That's totally cool. And yeah, man, crimson font. There's crimson font. Yes, there's crimson font. Many of you might be surprised to know that a forest with over 20,000 boulder problems in it actually has a lot of different stuff. Honestly, and I'm just saying this to some of my friends who are apparently scared of going to font because they think they'll be shut down. Benjamin, like on the one hand, yes, that will absolutely happen because shit's weird over there. But also over 20,000 problems, dude. At this point, if you can't find it in font, it just straight up doesn't exist. Anywho, really hope his run of form, Charles in this case, continues. We've been hearing about a ton of these projects of his for years at this point, and seeing them start to get done like one after the other is pretty freaking rad, at least for me. By the way, did you guys know he climbs barefoot? Next, switching things up from France to Austria, Nikolai Uznik with a completely freaking unexpected first ascent of a line he's calling Bugelbrett. And if you're kind of looking at that and going, that kind of sounds a little similar to Bugeleisen, you are not wrong. They're related. The latter's an iron, the former's an ironing board, and they're both boulder problems on the same boulder. Yeah, turns out Bugeleisen, the ultra-classic Clem Loscott 8B V14 that was given a sit by Nale, god damn it, Nale, we miss you, back in 2014, I believe, actually had a whole bunch of holes just to the right that you could link into the sit. And Nikolai literally just did exactly that. Bugelbrett, now proposed at 8C plus V16, which makes a lot of sense, is apparently a surprisingly technical bit of climbing that then rolls into the more grip it and rip it style of Bugeleisen's 55-degree overhang, even though the whole thing is overhung anyways. And like I said, I had no idea this thing even existed as a project. Apparently Nikolai has been working on it for a while, though he's kind of taken a radically different approach to it. Usually you get these pros doing like siege tactics on a boulder, right? You just kind of surround the rock with pads until it begs for mercy and lets itself be climbed. This time, we got more like guerrilla tactics? Maybe? Why am I using war metaphors? It's so stupid. I don't even know anything about them. This thing is apparently not too far from Nikolai's house, so he'd give some goes from time to time whenever he felt strong. And yeah, I guess that was enough to get it done. That's not guerrilla tactics. Awesome. Huge congratulations to Nikolai on the send. Dude keeps putting up banger after banger FAs. And like, you know, emotional landscapes, post break, which I guess kind of is, but also isn't technically an FA. The low for Forgotten Gem, freaking Mount Doom, and now adding his name to a boulder as iconic as Bugeleisen, gotta feel freaking good, man. gotta be really, really cool. Go and check out his uncut send, links here and also down below in the description. And yeah, it's wild how the camera tricks you with the angle. That thing looks legitimately like freaking flat and vertical in Nikolai's video. But the reality is that it's a freaking 55-degree overhang, and it's essentially a roof. It's insane. Anyways, go check it out. It's awesome. Congrats to Nikolai. Really, really cool stuff. And then, so, Connor Herson sent Bon Voyage like freaking 5-6 months ago. Little bitch didn't say anything. I'm kidding. He can do whatever he wants. It's just, God damn it, why not say anything? All right, so if Connor Herson wasn't already considered the greatest trad climber in the world currently, probably the greatest trad climber of all time, adding a send of James Pearson's Bon Voyage E12 to his insane resume probably should more or less cement that idea in all our collective minds. Dude's wild. He's too strong, too talented, clearly entirely too ballsy, because good lord, is climbing insanely run out of trad just something he seems to be able to do with like a ridiculous amount of chill. It's inhuman. E12, in case you don't know, which is basically all of you, because literally no one understands what the British trad system is even all about. I mean, what the hell is even that? Yeah, E12 in the case of Bon Voyage specifically, but not always, just this time, more or less translates to 9A 514D, a grade that it's one grade lower than Connor's proposed 9A plus 515A, Drifter's Escape, which is also E12. Leave it to the Brits to invent something that makes no sense at all. I'm kidding. I personally understand British trad grades. I just don't have the time nor the patience to explain it to you. But, I get it. I promise. It's really not that hard. Maybe one day I will. Anyways, huge congratulations to Connor Herson. Like I said, man, he's insanely strong. Best trad climber of all time, probably very easily. Massive congrats on sending literally like the second hardest trad route in the entire world. Next, not so much news, is more of a shout out to someone who really doesn't need it. Jakob Schubert's published a video of himself trying Sean Bailey's Duality of Man. Hardest route in the United States, possibly the world? Who knows? Anyways, for anyone out there who's not been able to watch any of the films on the Mellow Rock Tour, because it's only in the US, this is basically a nice first look at that route. And yeah, it looks hard as hell. Granted, Jakob only spent 2 days on it, and surprisingly sent Lee Majors very quickly, but said he was very pumped after sending, so yeah, he seemed very close to putting together the boulder problem crux at the end, so it seems like the true difficulty of this route is basically being able to do a pretty powerful 8C plus 514C, almost 9A 514D route, which is Lee Majors, and still having enough in the tank to get through an extremely tough looking 8C V15 boulder problem with like next to no rest. Which is kind of the tough part about seeing Jakob do this thing. Like, he basically nearly did the crux boulder and even seemingly found new beta for it quite quickly, so it's kind of like, it's easy to just go, oh yeah, it's soft confirmed, until you remember like, oh wait, no, there's like the entire 80% of the hard climbing that needs to be done before you even get to the actual hard stuff. Like climbing that was hard enough that it warranted a whole mellow uncut send on the YouTubes. So yeah, I don't know, that was my impression at least. Either way, hopefully this freaking motivates someone to try this thing, or pretty much any of the other 9Cs out there. Will Bozy, Stefano Gasolfi, please get back on silence. I just want the grade confirmed by someone. Dude, it's been 12 years or more, I think. Goddamn, entirely too long. I don't even care if it's silence, it could be any of them, whichever. Please, just one of you. Get on it, go. Next, let's talk about fans. Not like fans, like people who enjoy other people and their work. I mean like, whooshy machines. Sorry. Anyways, controversy abound as various climbers have been spotted across Washington state taping their fans, portable fans, to rock. So it points at troublesome holds. Now for anyone that watches this show that doesn't necessarily climb outdoors, I'll explain this super simply. Sometimes rock gets humid, and we use fans to remove said humidity. The less humidity, the less likely you'll slip off. Easy money. Now it's basically two people whose posts have been put on Reddit's Climbing Circle Jerk sub, and they're kind of pros, but not really, so I'm just gonna not say who they are, because honestly I don't think they deserve the potential hate that they'll get, and the point of all of this segment is more to like just kind of start a discussion here. Because fans taped to a rock, like, I don't know, there's just something kind of icky about it, right? Like, we've all seen the giant Makita that's propped up against the rock with a stick, like here, for example, which is already kind of like playing around with a certain line. But then to go up and use tape and stick something on a rock, man, there's a certain slope that may or may not be slippery, and using literal adhesive here is kind of, ironically, the thing that's causing the slippage. You know what I mean? I don't know, beyond the potential damage of like accidentally using a type of tape that will literally leave sticky stuff on the boulder, like residue, where do we stop? Do we just straight up bolt a little platform rig onto holds that we know are notoriously slippy? Because there are holds and even certain problems all over the world that are like very, very famous for having an almost supernatural ability to gather humidity. And I can get the frustration. I get it. I get feeling like every single time that you go and try something, the boulder is slick. I've had that one happen a lot. Literally one boulder I can think of specifically, La Bellota Mecánica in Balsaín near Madrid, this tiny bullshit of a slopey crimp that was always goddamn slick. Went to try that thing freaking, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 times at different times of the day, 5 in the morning with insane cold, middle of the day, sunset, nighttime. It never seemed to matter. It was always slick. Until one night, I went to try it by myself, ran into a group of dudes who were working a similar line. They blasted that same hold with a fan between everyone's attempts, and then I tried it, and the crimp felt better than it ever did, and I sent the boulder that had taken me like 15 or more sessions in like 10 minutes. And that's the thing right here, right? Like, I'm not necessarily against the idea of having the fan. The fan helps. It's nice. Having one would have saved me probably a lot of gas money. I'm not particularly happy about the idea of normalizing people gluing shit to rock, because other than the eyesore, it's how you end up accidentally having someone really, really, actually, for real, fucking things up in the future. I don't know, man. I can't. I haven't properly made up my mind about why this feels wrong, but it really does. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make something from nothing. Either way, I think it's an ethics discussion that's worthy of being had. Like I said, I don't have the answers here, but I would love to know what you guys think. So please, man, type away. I like reading all the comments. It's fun. Next, here's a question. You know who Matthew Mendes is? Yes? No? Maybe? Possibly know him from a wheel rock video in the schoolroom? Maybe if you're a Brit, you've heard of him. This dude just flashed an AB plus V14 boulder. And I say flash with like a gigantic bastard of an asterisk because it's not a flash, but it kind of is. Okay, so Dandelion Mind is the boulder in question. It's one of those kind of ugly limestone boulder problems the UK is known for. I promise I'm not going to crap all over them, okay? I feel like it's crap on the UK day for some reason. I get it. People are psyched. It's fine. Point is, Dandelion Minds is hard. It's AP plus V14, like I said, but it also shares a bunch of holds and sequences with another problem called Bewilderness, which is also the same grade, V14, AP+. Maybe you're seeing where the problem is, maybe you're not, because unfortunately Matthew Mendes already worked and sent Bewilderness back in 2025. He took 3 sessions to do it, and I only say unfortunately because while sending that boulder is awesome, the rules say that when you try the moves on a climb, you nullify your flash, which means that since Dandelion Minds and Bewilderness have holds and moves in common, you just can't flash Dandelion if you've tried Bewilderness, even though he low-key kind of did. So look, either way, this is massive. Number one, he tried Bewilderness like a year ago or so it's like, I don't know, it's not like the moves were necessarily on his mind. Number two, his hardest ascent of a boulder ever is AP+, so this dude just literally matched his hardest outdoor grade with his flash grade, which is just nuts. And number three, yeah, it's not a strict flash, and you gotta call it an incredible first go, because them's the rules. But I'd say it really is just as impressive, honestly. Like, again, rules are rules, not a flash, but this is an incredibly proud achievement. This kid should get on one of Bosey's 9As. Would be interesting to see those repeated, I think. Or on Aiden's spots at times. That'd be pretty cool. Anyways, like I said, huge stuff for Matthew Mendes. Links to his socials in the description. As always, go check him out. And yeah, let's keep going, because there's a lot to cover. And then let's talk someone I wasn't expecting to really have to talk about, but Joe Kinder. That's right, Joe freaking Kinder has just put up a new first ascent, a route he's called Bonesaw, which, as I understand it, is a 5-bolt alternative start to another route called Bone Tomahawk, which Joe first ascended about 10 years ago, more or less. This thing's in an area called the Fin Cave and is actually, if I'm not mistaken, Joe's hardest, or maybe even second hardest ascent ever. coming in at a proposed 9A/9A plus 514D/15A, because apparently this dude really fucking likes slash grades, which I hate. Make up your mind, Joe, one or the other, dude, seriously. Anyways, Joe wrote in his post that he's not particularly interested in the hype that might surround, this ascent for himself, and is really only sharing that he's sent because he wants to share what he's done with the community. Essentially more of like an, hey, I did this thing, come try it, sort of thing, as opposed to the more typical, I did this thing, how awesome am I? Type of post that we usually see from like 90% of social media, myself included. Which, yeah, fair enough. Do your thing, I buy it. Congratulations to Joe. Regardless, sending your hardest or second hardest route ever is a pretty big deal. I think it's actually his birthday, if I'm not mistaken, which is also pretty cool. If he sent on his birthday, it's a good birthday present to yourself, and it's a dope-ass cave. So big congrats to the man. Hopefully, a lot of people go get on that thing. It seems like that's the thing that's like giving him the most psych, so it'll be cool to see. Let's move on. Next, we got Michael Piccolruaz, finally sending his very first 9A plus 515A route, Companion of Change in Zillertal. And yeah, man, like I said, first time ever sending 9A plus. If you don't count Espontas, which is a deep water solo and one of the more famous routes in the world, and which honestly probably should count more. Anyways, Michael, it seems, tried this thing a few years back, left home empty-handed, but now has managed to actually send. What's changed? Well, dude said he's not sure. He's stopped competing, is climbing less, and doing so almost exclusively on rock, which is weird. Basically, the guy is resting more, climbing more on rock, which lets his body adapt specifically to its needs. Plus, he apparently also feels a lot more motivated to try hard when he's climbed real rocks. So, yeah, it's a complete mystery why he's managing to climb harder stuff. I don't really know how that's happening. Anyways, yeah, congratulations to Michael Piccolruaz. Honestly, it's great stuff. Yeah, sometimes, switching focuses helps. I wish I knew what that was like. Next, on to Roy, New Mexico. Guess you could say is one of those kind of undergroundish climbing destinations. Definitely seems underrated at least. Anyways, really sick looking sandstone lines, and Daniel Woods just put up an awesome looking FA on an incredibly cool looking boulder. He's called it Wavelength. He's proposed 8C V15, and yeah, appropriate ass name, honestly, and seriously cool looking boulder too. Makes me want to go to Roy. Not that I'm anywhere near strong enough to even do any of those moves, but like if that's the kind of stuff that you'll find over there, it's definitely going on the list, which is now entirely too long. Anyways, 4 moves, one after the other, in a straight line, culminating in a rad looking jump. Sick. Nothing to add. It's really, really freaking cool. And Daniel Woods is a badass, especially because apparently he's in like the hundreds of V15s sent easily. I don't even know how many, man. It's entirely too many. It just blows my mind. Anyways, move on. Okay, it's time for another 8C V15 Lightning Round, because why the hell not? Because people do these like the friggin' nothing nowadays. First up, Yuta Ima-Itsumi continuing his insane run of form after having sent like everything in Switzerland, including off the wagon low, 8C plus V16. This dude has just sent the power of now direct 8C, which you might remember is that one boulder that Jules Machelon managed to flash a little while back. Next, we got Trim Skugen Landmark with a solid send of Juneru and Albarracin 8C V15. That's quite close to my heart, given Albarracin is, or I guess was, like a home crag to me. Love it. Cool crimp line right in the middle of one of the most popular areas in the crag. Love to see that stuff. We got Adam Ondra making very quick work of Captain Nemo, as he is one to do. Captain Nemo, in this case, is the boulder that Dave Graham has been trying to link a low start to, which seems might be super duper hard. You can check that one out in that one video where he is hanging out with Will Bosey. In any case, ultra technical power endurance boulder problems that, let's face it, definitely did not give Ondra like any issues. Probably. Then we got Théo Charmasson with a send of La Force Obscure in Fontainebleau, one of those lesser talked about boulders in that grade range from La Forêt. Dude had been working another exit to this boulder, which is a little bit more famous, called La Force, for a real long time. That thing broke. He tried a different line instead, managed to send the same boulder, by the way. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure La Force is like the only boulder problem that we know for a fact has been sent by Seb Bouin, at least like hard boulder problem. probably because it is, or I guess in this case was since it broke, a super duper long roof climb, which, you know, tracks. And next, and finally, Martin Svech, husband of Jana Svechova, also managed to send his own 8C V15 boulder problem, in this case the boulder known as Drive, also in Moravsky Kras in Czech Republic. So another one of those non-top-out, drop-down boulders that I very clearly love so much. Does that end the lightning round? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Cool. Congratulations to everybody involved. Of course, always a pleasure. Links down below for everyone's stuff. Follow him on the gram and all of that if you don't already. And yeah, man, last but not least, just want to give a quick little shout out to Niky Ceria and his YouTubes and YouTubing. Dude just put out a pretty cool video of his sends in Japan. He never really says how hard anything he sends is, but all the boulders that he chooses to showcase are incredible. And it's just cool to watch one of the best climbers out there doing his thing. So highly recommend you check it out. Links are in the description and down there, but wherever. Doesn't matter. They're everywhere. But hey, that was of course some climbing news. As always, thanks again for watching. Friendly reminder to not forget to subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to say. If you haven't, I will see you guys again quite soon. But until then, of course, and as always, go climb some stuff.